Thanks so much for having me, for everyone coming out. I'm also honored, extremely honored, on behalf of my family and the community to accept the Nobel Peace Prize for future works that I will do.
I think that's a great segue to, yeah. Actually, I wanted we're going to cover a wide range of topics. I've already told you I greatly enjoyed your book. I think the insights you offer, it's a part of, there's moments in time where it's really hard to understand why things are going on the way they're going on right now. We see you in the midst of the 9/12 Teabaggers rally. How did you get there? How did you end up with a video camera in your hand or a microphone in your hand, asking people questions? What was the process that got you there?
I've been covering the radical right for 6 years since I embarked on a journalistic career, and mostly was covering it in print. But I realized that although my print work was making an impact, people needed to see how extreme some of the displays were in order to believe it. So a friend of mine, when I was working at The Nation magazine, who was a videographer, said, "Can I just follow you around at one of these conferences you go to?" And I took him to the Conservative Political Action Conference in 2007, at a time when the conservative movement was sort of collapsing under its own weight, which is the theme of my book. And I was able to meet Michelle Malkin, and we can possibly show the video later, present her with a photograph of Manzanar, the Japanese-American concentration camp, because she had written a book that she was signing there, saying, the Japanese-American concentration camps were a good thing because they were a security threat. We should do the same thing to American Muslims during the War on Terror. And so I just asked her to sign this picture, and she storms off in the middle of her own book signing. And by the end, I was able to ask Ann Coulter a question in front of 1,000 young Republicans, because she had just called John Edwards a faggot, and had written a book attacking gay marriage. And I said, well, I appreciate your defense of traditional marriage, so now can you explain to us why you've had 3 broken engagements and never been married? Because so many of the women in the conservative movement attack feminism, but if it wasn't for feminism, they wouldn't be in the position that they're in today. And that video just went viral, it exploded, and I continued to make these videos, and I found that I discovered that they reached a younger audience and got me outside of this intellectual bubble that I've been in. People who weren't already engaged in politics were learning about this movement by seeing it.
Because there's something very visceral about seeing the images and about seeing the faces connected with the experience.
Well, and also, this movement likes to control. It's very good at controlling its political environment and controlling its message, much better than liberals. That's part of the success. But once you drop someone like me, or someone else who isn't from the movement in there, who can ask them questions that they're not used to hearing, and basically put them under some degree of, this is for the prophet Elijah, put them under some degree of scrutiny, they completely crack up and they begin to reveal the extremism that's behind this veneer they put up, the veneer of the American flag and the cross, that they really represent the real America. We start to see that they're actually radicals. And I don't have to go very far. I'm polite. I'm civil. I'm not like the Acorn kid, James O'Keefe, who has to provoke situations. And I'm not like Sacha Baron Cohen, who has to take off his clothes in order to make something happen. I just ask them basic questions, and they crack up. And so recently I've been having more trouble getting into these situations. But
Are they on the lookout for you now? Is that what's happening?
But so I'm more inclined to go to things like the 9/12 rally on the National Mall, which are just wide open and no one there knows who I am because they possibly can't read.
How do you think your family shaped your worldview in this regard? You come from a political family.
My father was a journalist. He moved us from Boston to Washington to go work for the Washington Post, covering conservatism and covering the White House when Reagan was president. And he wound up working for Bill Clinton, going into the Clinton White House as sort of a House intellectual, helped him handle the media and explain the right wing, I would call it a plot, to overthrow him, literally. and my mother worked in the White House. But growing up, my mother was working for People for the American Way. She and my father, at my grandmother's kitchen table here in Chicago, wrote an ad against Judge Robert Bork, who was nominated for the Supreme Court. Gregory Peck narrated, and I appeared in the ad at the age of 10. And the National Review, this conservative magazine, attacked me and said I looked faker than Beaver Cleaver. So the conservative attack machine had identified me at the age of 10. My mother went away for several weeks when I was pretty young, maybe 9, to fight a battle in court battle, to help People for the American Way fight a court battle in North Carolina, because the Christian right had gone down there to ban Huckleberry Finn and several other books in Greensboro. And I said, why are they trying to ban books? So I learned about this from a young age, and I just found a picture I drew when I was 8 of Pat Robertson with money and crosses falling on him, and he's saying, I'm a bigot. It apparently had an effect on me at a young age. I like to believe I wasn't indoctrinated. But my book, I try to go into how conservatism and liberalism, liberal ideologies are formed during childhood through different methods of child rearing.